Meet Lili, a Nashvillian whose love for theater began at just the age of 10. With a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Theater, Lili spent 11 years at Opryland theme park. She also directed art for several music videos and co-owned a scenic company for special events. Lili has taught stagecraft for 18 years at the Columbia State Williamson campus. For the past 3 years, Lili has been the coordinator for theater and events at CState. And we are so excited to have her today on Convos with Aaron. All right, well, let's get into it. Thank you for being here and doing the first episode. This is really cool.
This is exciting. I feel honored to be asked.
Oh, thank you. So you are, what is your title exactly?
Coordinator of Theater and Events.
Okay.
I work under the Media Services Department, and that department also services all the classroom needs, all the AV needs of the classrooms, but the theaters are there. And with my theater background and management background, it kind of all fit for me to take this. We have a lot of external rentals beyond just internal events, so I'm managing both things going on in all the theater spaces, and I help with the classroom stuff, but just not as much as this other entails.
Well, and reading about your bio, you've had a history in theater
Yeah.
for most of your life.
Yeah,
right?
since I was 11 years old in 6th grade, we had to audition for A Christmas Carol, and I got cast as Scrooge.
And you got cast as Scrooge.
Really weird
Yeah.
that would have been 1973, in a public elementary school in Tennessee, a girl got cast as Scrooge. Don't ask me. My teacher was progressive, maybe, I don't know.
that is interesting of a choice. What was there a reason, or did you ever get a reason?
I never got one. I couldn't believe all the dudes in the class. There were several, but that gave me the theater bug. And my parents found Nashville Children's Theater had a program for acting and whatnot. Started me that summer, and I went there until I graduated high school. They had a program and went to college. I've done nothing but work in theater or live events and somehow all my life, except for working at Shoney's while I was in college.
Well, of course, you know, that's usually built into the American experience.
Yeah,
I feel
right.
like
Exactly.
that's cool. That's cool, and you can tell too in your demeanor that you love. I mean, I've been to several shows here.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see yourself now at the part of life we're at now? Do you see yourself doing this? Are you ever thinking about retirement, or is it just something that you love to do?
You know, I'm 62, so yes, it's thought through, but I'm the kind of person that if I did retire, then like one of my goals then would be to work with Habitat. I'm just not a sit still and not do anything kind of person. And I might get involved with maybe inner city children's theater or something like that to work with kids. I like working with young people in theater groups, so it's been fun having some of the community groups that come here. We used to have a commercial entertainment program that I taught stagecraft for, and we did a lot of shows with them, and I really enjoyed it. So
That's great. It's great. Pouring into the community, I feel like, is something that is always such a need.
I think so. And theater, you know, is a good, you can be kind of crazy, weird, you know, a lot of different personalities come into the theater, and that it's kind of fun.
Well, did you see the movie that came out this year called Sing Sing?
No.
Did you see it? You need to, it is fantastic. It's about these prison inmates who are locked in for prison for various violent offenses.
I have heard of this group of teachers. I didn't know they had that. I have to see that. I saw a news bit about that happening.
Yeah.
And I need to see that.
I think you'd love it then, because it's beautiful, because even though I think a lot of people see theater too and providing it as a resource to the public being a kids only thing, when I think that's a disservice. Yeah, I think that's a disservice.
I agree. I think it's storytelling.
Yeah.
Whatever story you're trying to tell, it may be done in a different way, but I think some of the messages are important, and some of the growth I've seen in kids and in adults, self-confidence, things, you know, to be on stage, it just helps in a lot of ways. And team building. It's a team to produce a show.
Yeah. It's always impressive too to see the final product of all the preparation, and I only did a couple of church plays as a kid, but as a viewer, to see the effort of the stage, which I would love to get into today, the stage and the production from the technical side, like what you do, but also too like the props and what you also have done.
Oh yeah. I used to have to do it all for the commercial entertainment program. We did big musicals, and we were the only student group that has ever been a part of the performance series lineup. That was quite an honor that we were considered, to be, our quality of our show was as good as hiring the outside talent. So we worked our butt off to live up to be able to do that, all for one performance.
Yeah, that's cool to be held at like such a standard, because that makes you feel good too, I can imagine.
Yeah, and I had, when working at theme park, a boss I had was a meticulous to the nth degree. We're talking measuring sticks in a ballroom, every chair this many inches away from the table, turn this way. I mean, and that just, people laugh at me, wow, you really look at the details, but
you have to,
it
I guess.
matters,
Yeah.
I think you may not know that table's sloppy or those chairs are out of place, but you can get a sense.
So essentially when you walk into a place, even though you may not be in charge of setting it up, for example, like an event, does your mind still automatically go to
I still will look and see, and I will kind of judge different venues on how sloppy or not they are with their own gear. It's like, wow, they don't care too much here, or
I can imagine it's built in.
Really care. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, for so many years of doing it, true.
So let's start from the beginning. You got into theater, and what made you transition from on stage to behind the stage?
I was born with a cleft palate.
Okay.
And I was always made fun of for talking funny. I did have some surgeries, but I just felt like there was no way I was going to earn a living on stage with that. Now I had some people, I shouldn't be the judge of that, but I enjoyed acting, and maybe that's something I might do a little more of again when I retire. But the tech appealed to me too, and I just got into that. I worked every show there was when I was in college, and did a 5-year program in 3.5 without summer school.
That's cool. That's cool. That's impressive.
Just working the shows. I loved it.
What was that like too, when you first realized that this is for me? This is what I'm going to do for my career. Was there a specific moment, or was it just something that kind of happened?
No, it just happened. I felt early on the acting thing. I mean, I enjoyed it, and I would do it some, but I loved the tech. Every show, even in that training at Nashville Children's Theater, tech was emphasized. So you weren't raising a bunch of divas who didn't know anything that was going on. So I got to dabble in everything. My least favorite was costuming, because the patience to sew. If I can screw it, nail it, staple it, I'm fine. The sewing thing.
Yeah, definitely more utility involved in the practical production more so than the clothes.
I like working with wood. I like carpentry. That was the thing. And I like doing the design, and it's a challenge because I'm not an artist either, but I've had my designs as long as I can communicate to somebody what I'm trying to do. And I've been able to do that.
So you've worked in Opryland too?
Yeah.
Up in Nashville, and can you explain what you did there a little bit?
I started off as a seasonal stagehand for one particular set of shows that they had, and that was just, that was back before you had a lot of wireless microphones, so you had 18 people with wired microphones dancing.
Oh my gosh.
And so, the trainlets would happen. You're having to get microphones unsnagged and get them free and move scenery all in time. And it was fun when it went right, and it was like when it didn't.
So the advent of wireless, right?
Right.
I hear a lot too that people don't trust it because it's not wired, but at this point.
I mean, we've had I think maybe as far as performance series here, and this has been going, 22-something years now, we've maybe have 2 acts that said we want all wired. They seem to be okay. Maybe mic check just made them, there was no fuzz, there was no RF interference, and we checked for that. So that hasn't been a problem here.
Okay.
But back there, they just were doing probably the expense and everything else. Normal was 2 little handhelds and everybody else on wired mics. So it was kind of crazy. And they would, in their off season, if they liked you and you had some quality, they would bring you to work in the shop. And I was working in the shop after that first summer. And you would help build things, whether it's a new show that was happening at a theater, or sometimes we did for some of the rides, decor that emphasized, like for the roller coaster or whatever, we had themed in a swampy area. We built little shacks around to theme with the roller coaster thing. So we would build those in the off time or build sets and stuff. So I got to be what they call year-round seasonal, and then they moved me up to a full-time position. And then I changed from theater department to the art department and got to do the Halloween events and Easter events in the park. And then San Antonio, Texas, Opryland was hired to be the management for a new theme park they built there, and they had our art department design it.
Oh, wow.
And I was responsible for all the props, antiques, and theming for all the different, there was a 20s area, a 50s rock and roll area, a German area, Hispanic area, and wow. I had $2 million, spend it wisely. It was thrilling and terrifying altogether.
I can imagine. Just having to deal with that task. How long did it take from start to beginning?
That was about 2 years that we did the theming of that. The last one, there was a water park that they built, and that was late opening, so it was down to the wire, wading in water, painting petroglyphs on the sides of the rides, to get the theming down. But we got it.
And when you finished that, you walk in, did you get a chance to kind of take in all of what you designed?
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah, I did somewhat. It was pretty cool. Yeah. I've heard now, I haven't been to see it in several years, but it got bought out and became more of what we would call back then a hardware park, just about the rides and less about the theming and stuff, So I don't know if anything I did is still there or not anymore.
Well, it's important, I think, to have both, right? In order for the immersion
I think
to happen?
so. I think it adds a bigger, I used to do an analogy of if you get handed something in a brown paper bag, I mean, it may be really cool what's in there, but if it's really gifted, you got a beautiful bow on it, you're kind of more excited about what could be in there. So I think that's kind of what theming does for the package.
Well, and that too transitions into production. Right,
it does.
And theming,
yes.
and we got a chance to see how you do the lights and everything like that. And you were talking about how it's important for you to match the theme of the guest that you have on, or not the guest, but the
talent.
The
talent.
Right,
right. You're correct. Whatever environment, whatever show, they just did Mary Poppins in here, an outside group that was here. And we just tried to do lighting to support a bouncy, upbeat theme show with young kids, and you just try to, and you had your creepy moments, so you do some creepy lighting to outfit the creepy scene.
Yeah.
And it just makes it better.
Yeah, and also the flexibility you have with all the lights here is pretty cool, because you get to do some, like you were talking about with the lights that are above us, how you were mixing some colors.
Yes.
And you look like you're having a lot of fun doing it too.
Oh, it is fun. It is fun, and it's creative to do that. And you get, I like the colors we have now. Sometimes you're being as simple as a dance group in here, and you want to match to their little outfits that they're dancing to. And the parents love it, and the kids go, oh, they love it. I'll hang twinkle lights and do something fun with little lights like that for a group if I think it suits their needs. I've done that here for us to make something for the pinning ceremonies. I'll put twinkle lights in front of all these black curtains, and they just, when they come in, it makes me happy if I get a good reaction from something like that I've done.
I'm sure that's addicting too, right? to be able to.
It is to make, and I'm being known. I got uplights here, and I've started for even little events in a classroom here. I'll go and put uplights in for their event, and they love it. So it makes me happy. I'm
sure, I can imagine. Yeah, it's, when I design and create things, I try to go above and beyond for myself, but also. I do know it feels good though whenever you get a compliment, because it's that little thing that you're like, oh, thank you, I appreciate it. And that goes into with our theming here at Convos with Aaron is creative, so highlighting the process. And my question would be, where do you find creativity in the process? What do you think is the most creative thing about it? Would it be the lights? Would it be?
That's hard. I would say, again, that might depend on the event.
Okay.
I know audio's creative, and don't shoot me audio guys out there, but it's not something I know well enough to be that creative with. You can, though, with ambient sound effects. I've seen that added into place, and it certainly adds a whole layer if it's a Southern show on a languid summer afternoon and you hear crickets going and all. It helps really set that mood, especially when you're in freezing air conditioning theater, you know, but anyway. But lighting and then the props and the scenery, if it's a stage play, are going to make a big difference. If you have no scenery, you know, it's okay, but then your props better be something, or then your play better be so good and your actors are so good that they have nothing to show for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It presents such. I like to put extra emphasis in props and scenery as well.
Well, adds that another layer of visual dimension to it, because
Yes.
I think, and I, you know, to be honest with you, that was probably not the best question to ask, because in reality, everything is a piece to a puzzle.
They are.
Creates
It's the
a
whole
visual
right,
picture.
and if your lighting's crappy, then it's the whole. It can bring the production value down as a whole. If your sound guy's not doing well and you're hearing feedback or constantly missing things, then you're interfering with the production too. Yeah. Everybody has to work together.
What would you say is, you're talking about that moment, was there a moment that was you would consider as a creative, like your lowest when it comes to a production? Is there any stories where you're like, ah, man.
I can tell you one of the worst times of my life. I won't ever forget it. We had shall I say the name? A Coca-Cola event for Coca-Cola in Atlanta. And I didn't design it. I don't agree with the design, but I should have said so at the time. Maybe we didn't do it. The design was for real skinny palm trees out of 1/4-inch plywood. And we're talking, they made the trunks like 6 inches narrow and 12 feet tall with a big old top piece. Those were already going to be extremely flimsy, and it was a quick turnaround, and it was late June. Wow. And we painted them, got them on a truck. We're down to the wire getting them done. I rode with a truck driver getting them to Atlanta, and got there, and the paint and the sun and the heat, they were stuck together.
All the trees were stuck together?
Most of them.
Oh,
we could only salvage a few of them.
And what does the salvage process look like? Do you just have to cut it, or what do you?
Well, prying up and seeing what, I had no tools. We had no time to make anything new or paint anything. So literally what we could pry apart and keep whole, several of them just broke. The stems broke, those little tiny stems broke. So there was a fraction, maybe a third of what was supposed to be there. So nobody was talking to me. I was persona non grata because I was the only one there. And this happened. They're having to, it was a middleman in between me and the Coca-Cola, so I didn't have to deal with Coca-Cola. They had to. Yeah. So that was not. I still have bad memories. That I warn anybody painting scenery. Careful tracking it, your paint, if it's not thoroughly dry and it's humid, you're in the South, it will stick.
It will stick, yeah. So I think it's important the lesson there would be like, take your time, correct?
Well, if we could have done it sooner, I probably, in retrospect, I should have even said no, because that was the dumbest design ever.
Oh, because it was a time
this
crunch,
big, heavy thing on a stem. It was just a horrible design. And we were doing a bunch of stuff for fanfare as well, but it was a big client. We hated to say no. Yeah. So. Yeah. And we still got more work out of it. They did admit maybe the design could have been better, and they knew. We tried. I don't know anybody else could have gotten them dry, better transpo. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, transitioning from that to your best moment, what would be your best moment that you'd say?
Well, one of our biggest, we had our own scenic company for a while, my husband and I did, and we did a big event for Office Depot at the Opryland Hotel, and we had huge scenery all week long, and throughout the Delta area, and we got it all done. I guess that was a really big event that could have had some sideways things. They added things on us at the last minute, and we achieved every piece of scenery they wanted, and it looked great. They were thrilled. So that was pretty good.
That was the best.
That was good from a commercial standpoint of getting something done. And other than that, it would be some of the events I worked on in the commercial entertainment department through Columbia State. Some of the shows we did together, and I'm still friends with some of the students I picked up from year one. I'm still close to, and I've been to their weddings and officiated at a wedding, one of their weddings, yeah. Wow. So those relationships mean a lot. Some of those shows still hold near and dear to my heart. And they wouldn't mean anything to anybody else, but.
Well, it means a lot to you, though.
Yeah,
I can tell. It means a lot to the people, too. Your time here at CState, how has it been teaching? Because I know you taught.
I did.
And also doing the show portion of it. Which one would you say is your favorite, probably?
Working on the set with the kids and getting that built together and all, which was part of class time sometimes, was better than just strictly class time, unless I knew I could always have students that were actually interested. You know, it gets old when you have a third of the group or whatever not being interested. It just gets, especially when you're hands-on and you have to force them to put that screw in, put that, you know, it just.
It gets annoying sometimes.
Yeah, that does. I'd rather have a group of people who want to learn how to do it.
And was there a progression of the classes that you taught? Was there like class 1, 2, and 3 that
It was always a basic stagecraft class. And then building the set for each show was a part of trying to get, it was amazing what we pulled off. If you saw some of the sets we did, supposedly it was done just with the class. No, there were many of me and the kids. I spent a few 100-hour weeks on sets. So.
But it feels worth it, I'm sure.
Oh, it sure was every time.
How was that process? I've always wondered the process of when it's time to deconstruct.
Yeah.
What happens to the prop? Do you try to save as much as you can?
If you can store it, you got to weigh. Storage room with the item. I had a lot of things though. I had more storage in my first incarnation before the new Franklin campus got built. But anyway, I had platforms and step units, stuff that can be repurposed for different shows that doesn't look particular to that show only. Flats, which are walls, so you try to save those. Yeah. And then some of the nicer, maybe a few columns I would try to save too. If I had the space. Building here, I can't save much. I have 6 platforms here, and I have about maybe 6 flats. And I try to use those. Any community member coming in here to do shows, hey, I have platforms, I have flats you can use, and I have decent casters, because that's another pet peeve.
What's a caster? What is
it's a wheel on a
Okay.
platform. They're just called casters, but many people don't use the right caster.
What can result in using a wrong caster?
Scratching the floor, for one, which is that's not fun. A scenery can stop midway if you got a crappy caster.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And where are you then? In the middle of a scene change and you can't get it off stage. I've had caster improperly put on by a student before break off.
And so does that cause like a chaos, like you said?
Well, yeah, you gotta, help me get this off the stage. The house isn't going out for the next scene because there's a wheel broken on it. You're just gonna have to fake it. We're gonna bring this drop in. You gotta think on your feet how you're gonna solve the problem for the next one.
That's probably the thrill of it, though, I can imagine,
It,
right?
it is.
It's a
I mean,
negative thrill.
You're right. Well, it's, it's live theater, see what you can do. They laughed at me one show. I was helping with scene change and something got caught. The lights came up, so I just hid behind a stump. And they're all off stage. Got a picture of me hiding back there. It's like, gosh, the kids loved it if I,
Antagonizes it.
It's funny if Lily got stuck on stage like that.
It's not funny for you, I can imagine. No.
No, well, I was okay. At least I wasn't seen, and I fixed whatever had gotten hung up before the lights came up, so that was good.
Yeah, well, that's good. You got it done. I always say when I'm creating video, people will get me all the time. I don't know why, but they'll always say, "You're gonna edit me out if I don't look good, right?" Which it's a funny thing, but I always say I can just edit Brad Pitt's face on them if they make them feel better. And I haven't had to do that yet because people are better looking than I think they give themselves credit for. But it is interesting relating what you do to video, the process and the thorough. We have to get all the parts right in order for it to
All
be
come
envisioned.
together,
Yeah.
right.
I relate to that, and I think that's so cool too, because even though I'm in a different field, I can still admire the work, and I can tell the work that puts into a production.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
And I've done a few music videos that I was art director for.
With theater, it's a little bit different too, especially local theater, because a lot of times, although people, I'm assuming, want to go and do bigger and better things, there's still more of a camaraderie there, I can tell.
There is, and I guess, camaraderie, I mean, paying video and paying theater, unless you're getting a place at T-Pack, but even then, or Broadway, of course, do touring stuff, you're not in theater for the money, obviously.
No.
So, whereas a lot of video people, they make a better living than theater people.
Yeah.
So.
When you see too, I feel like the only transition would be from actor on stage to actor in movie. That's the only.
Yeah, and that's a big difference. And
Yeah.
I've seen people successfully do it, and I've seen theater people bomb at it because they just couldn't get that it's a more intimate, different style of acting. It's not big and huge. You're not trying to reach the back wall there.
Yeah.
Just the camera, and so it's been interesting
to see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing there was a video that came out where it was a Disney star actor who was trained in that area to be really good at Disney work.
Oh.
But then when it came to auditioning for a serious role, she still had that Disney voice. So I can imagine that theater and kind of having to project and having to speak a certain way in a certain cadence just doesn't lend itself necessarily. I mean, obviously people do it all the time, but I can imagine it's hard.
And some of that may be a director, not, some, good director can tease stuff out of an actor, right? But there are some actors that just can't. They're just big actors, and the subtlety is not just within their.
Yeah.
I know I diverge off on tangents now and then, but.
That's the beauty of podcasts.
Okay,
I feel like it's the
good.
rabbit holes are allowed, especially now being podcasting is just so much more free than radio ever was.
Yeah, it is. Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah, that you could talk about anything for as long as you want, and there might be somebody out there who wants to listen, I guess. But
I mean, what you can do just with your phone now. I mean, it's amazing compared to when I was a kid and there were no phone. You still had rotary dials when I was a kid. So. And when somebody was telling me they showed a student a rotary phone, they didn't even understand how it would work.
Oh, really? I feel like I've seen enough movies to know that.
I was like, that's kind of sad. They can't,
Yeah. Just like cursive, I guess people are.
Oh, yeah. I had somebody recently sign a contract on the signature line they printed.
They printed? Oh, wow.
And I don't know, this is a recent grad from here, so I don't know if she even knows. She may not have ever been
taught cursive. Well, I know I wasn't taught cursive, so.
Right. So how do do you have a signature?
I do. I know how to write my name.
That's
it still
good.
looks like I am. It doesn't look great.
Like left-handed, because my left-handed people don't write very neatly generally. I don't know why.
Wow.
But we don't.
It's a big pencil, only for right hands. That's the, yeah. Yeah, left-handed people usually get the end of the stick when it comes to
Yeah.
society, even the smallest
It's
things.
true. Supposedly we die younger.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I have read that. I wonder if it's like unseen stresses.
Yeah, it could be that. When I see those kind of studies, I think it's kind of funny because how do you know? Like, there's certain
Yeah,
things.
I take nothing. Oh, time to die now. I'm
Yeah.
left-handed.
Yeah, true.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's like if I have a Audi belly button, then that means I'm going to be able to live a couple more days. It's just good. I think there's so many external factors that it
Yeah.
takes. Yeah, but talking about health, I want to talk about that. Health, specifically in these long shoot days, and not necessarily shoot days, but long weeks where you talk about doing 100 hours worth of work.
Oh, yeah.
How do you keep up? Do you just recover after, or do you try to keep yourself?
Yeah, I can. If I know the end, like this time frame I just did with the group that just got out of here. I mean, my last day off was February 22nd. Wow. When I know that like after Sunday night when I got home and that show was done, then I just like, okay, I'm down. And I still was back at work Monday morning at 7:45, but I could rest when I got home that night at 10:30 between. But I did get rest. I could let go. I don't have to worry that I'm not managing all the aspects. I mean, here I'm dealing with trash as well as the lighting and sound and stuff, but I'm dealing with custodial needs and kids making messes in bathrooms and hallways and in classrooms where people are going to, have to make sure everything's back the way it's supposed to be. So.
And I can imagine your love for it is the only reason why you can get through some of those moments, right?
Yeah, probably. There are some people that just question my sanity, but
you don't take crap. I can tell that you, and I've seen a little bit. Yeah, I feel like you're very durable when it comes to that. And and the little bit that I've seen you in action and everything like that. Even I remember too coming to a performance series, and I think there was some sort of disagreement with the
talent.
The talent, yeah. And in those moments, still you were very strong, and you were like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to push through.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's the only thing you can do, but it's admirable to see, and it's.
Well, thanks. You can't, you try to make your feelings known to a point, but you still, depends on the situation, have to acquiesce if there's an overall. If you're not the final say, you have to deal with somebody. And you got, especially in terms of listening, a lot of people have their opinions of how loud something should be. Yeah. And, we used to have a charming little couple that came here with a meter. And that was really annoying.
A decimal meter?
A decibel meter, yes.
Interesting.
They did.
Okay. Yeah.
And they would be complaining when we had no other complaints. And it's like, look, I'm sorry, folks. Just don't come. I mean,
yeah. And dealing with criticism and stuff like that, obviously you have to be willing to take it in.
Yes.
But is there a point where you have to just shut it off and you're like, all right, well.
Well, you just, yeah, there's a point. I'll take in if I'm getting one criticism, okay, I'll start and I'll try to listen. It's hard when you're backstage, like I'm back here for the concert series. Well, I'm behind the speakers. All I'm really hearing from here is pretty much the monitors of the house, and depending on who's playing, that can be very different from what you're hearing out in the house. But I go out there and I start getting messages, well, this doesn't sound right, it's like, and I know who's operating sound, and I'm like, okay, and I'll get on the headset and talk to some of my core tech people first that have been doing this for a while. How do you think it sounds? Something sounding weird to you? And a couple of times they've said yes, and I've had to go up and tap the audio guy and go, what's going on? And very rarely he'll go, oh, okay, sorry, and make an adjustment. Other times it's been, different people's opinions on. And you can't, you try to set up a system in a house like this to make it sound the best for the most, but you're not making it sound you can't make every seat sound perfect. I don't know if anybody tells you that. I don't believe it, not without spending 10 times more money than a community college is going to be able to spend. So we try to fill it. We've added these little monitors down here, down front, to help be front fills, because the front seat is like 2 feet from the stage. You're like this, well, they're under the speakers that are blasting out to everybody else, so they're not hearing it as well. And so we've tried to add front fill, do things like that here and there. And then when you have people who are so loud, you can't do anything with them. We did have that happen. And my audio guy for these, he's an old road dog, and he may have a little bit of cantankerousness within him, but he asked them to turn down sound check and they wouldn't, so he barely had anything in the house because it was already so loud, and you're just going to add more muddy sound on top of muddy sound. And then a little while later, I believe it was your mom, came and said, oh, I got a message from the manager saying they were sending an engineer would be there at 6:30. What does that mean? That means they're getting their own sound guy. They're firing ours, basically. They're not going to use him.
Such an awkward moment, too.
And I said, that's fine. I told her why, and I mean, there's no point. And we measured. It was over 100 decibels. You start hurting hearing at 100 dB. There's no, most places will ask if our system will go up to that. Yeah, but they're not playing at that, you know. They just want to know if we're capable to get that kind of volume. Yeah, we are, but why would you? It's just too loud. It was way too loud.
Well, especially in a theater like this, I can imagine. It's so much more intimate.
It is, and this theater has very good acoustics. That's one thing we've heard many, many times over the years from people way better than some like the type that decided blasting was the way to go. And having us, you always get a gear rental from a talent you're coming, and had an amp rented, and come to find out, oh, he just liked it because it's a cool looking amp. Didn't even plug it in.
It's for like a prop?
That's all he wanted it for. Didn't say that. We just, during the show, realized he never even plugged it in. He had his own little crappy amp behind it, and that's what he was using.
Wow.
But he liked the look.
Well, that's an artist, especially an on-stage artist. I've seen some of them already from like a viewer perspective. They appreciate the show more so than the actual utility of everything.
Yes.
So, but that's a very much a personality.
It is, and I've never in 21 years had anybody have us rent anything that was just a prop.
A prop,
Yeah, so that was kind of funny.
But like I said, you just deal with it, I guess.
Well, that's
right?
the thing. They're here and they're gone, and that one won't be back again. So you have nights where it's like, you're gritting teeth to not bite them. And sometimes there's people that come here, and I understand coming to Podunkville, as some of them would call Columbia. I don't, and I know some of these people go to places where they've got high school kids or the tech people, or that's who's going to unload their gear, and it's a nightmare. But we are not that. This has always been a professional staff, any event. So, and most times people are surprised and really happy with the level of what they get from us. So.
Well, I think there's a common misconception in general about community colleges.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. When I was in high school, I had that. I was like, why would I want to go to a community college? But then getting a chance to actually come here and like see shows and be around campus, it's just like any other college campus.
Yeah. Although there's less on-campus involvement with the community college.
Yes.
So that's hard.
Yeah. Well, I go to MTSU and there's still not a lot. So that,
Really?
I think it just depends on the school probably. And I wonder if that's also just the rivalry between Columbia community colleges and universities.
Maybe so.
I don't know.
I guess. I've always encouraged people, get your gen eds done at the community college. Far cheaper. And some kids are better at transitioning from that little fish, big pond to big pond, little tiny fish transition can be a little hard for some people. If they've been in an intimate little school all their lives and they go That can be difficult. And Columbia State, at least this community college, my only, has that intimate feeling more so than the bigger schools. But
yeah, when I think even though it is more intimate, that still doesn't mean it sacrifices quality.
no, it doesn't. And we have some programs here that we have a higher pass rate than you'd be surprised at the names of some of the four-year colleges, that we have a higher pass rate on some of the EMT programs and some of the nursing programs. So,
what would be your favorite part working here at Columbia State?
in this capacity, working with anybody to help make whatever their event is better. Like I said, I will go and I'll hang twinkle lights in a room that's doing a banquet for their kids, their special kids that are graduating, whatever that program is. I'll do that. Now, I try to tell them that is not our department doing that, and this will go away when I go away, because that's not part of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But I had the talent. I even brought some of my own lights that I've given to the school, and they let me buy some because I've augmented. We're doing some of the uplights for graduation now. Yeah. They never had anything like that there, but somebody went, "Oh, green backlights, that looks awesome."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it does. It just elevates the level of the ceremony a little bit more, I think. And I like that I did that. So
yeah, even going the extra mile. Personally, for me, when I do it, it rewards myself.
It does. It's just working with people. They preach around here one college. I believe we're one college. I don't care what department you hand. Yeah. I've helped the custodian many times flip a room, clean out a garbage can, whatever. Not too good to do that. It helps the whole.
For sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think you can relate that to a lot of big organizations or places. Going to MTSU, each college kind of feels like its own thing, which is kind of it's sad to think about that there's that many. I mean, you're talking about here, there's a lot, but like you said, there feels like it's like one community. It doesn't necessarily feel like that there. I
understand what you mean, because I went to Memphis State, or University of Memphis is now, and that kind of, it felt a little that way.
Yeah, I think cross collaboration through different programs is beautiful.
I think so too.
I
like that a lot.
Yeah, just and being able to, for example, like here, I'm sure, like you said, helping out with the custodians, meeting people that may not even have anything to do with you.
Correct.
Exactly. It's positive.
The choir concert. I mean, choir's been performing here for years, but they've never had anybody build them props before. Well, they're doing some numbers from Susical this April. I'm making an egg for Horton to sit on. It's just it'll be awesome. Yeah. And the kids will love it. And I just think it'll add that much more. They're doing 3 numbers from the show. But that'll be a cool prop for them to have.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for being on here.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. I think you're great. And I look forward to listening to all your future podcasts.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for being the first. This is an honor for me to get to interview you, and the little bit that I have talked with you. You've always had such a full personality about you, in the sense that no matter what, you can always talk about something, and be fun doing it too.
Well, I hope so. I don't want anything to be stressful. Outer stresses can help. Let's try to keep our core. Remember, we're having fun here.
True, and I get that sense too in the little bit that I got to see you work on some of the performance series. Yeah. So, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I look forward to talking with you off camera more too.
All right, let me know if you ever need a prop or anything.
Of course, I will.
Out.
I will, and anytime too. I'd love to have you back. So.
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right.
Guys, thank you for joining the first episode of Convos with Aaron. I've had a lot of fun doing this, and I'm so excited to get started. This is just the beginning. We have so many guests lined up, all different kinds. Next week, look out for a blacksmith. That's right, a blacksmith. So thank you for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe and share this so we can reach to more and more people. And if you even have a guest recommendation or yourself want to be a guest, you can email us at convoswithaaron@gmail.com. We love to see you, and we love to have you on. So thank you, and goodbye.